All right. Call the August 2nd, 2022 work session in report. Perfect. We have some of the tapes, so I'm just going to introduce the second half. But I wanted to introduce Grant, our new health alternative school principal. This is one of the, I think everybody else knows right now, so we'll keep moving from there. We're going to start with one of the policies that came up was IKF, which is our grad requirements. And we had an AR that had in some other pieces. We honored the plan, some other things. And OSBA was recommending deleting that. So that creates some issues for us. So John's here to kind of talk us through the issues, and then we'll get some feedback from the audience.
Good, thank you. What I wrote on, I group the board members, but three copies, and I'm going to refer to the one that says just in my handwriting. That's our current policy that has served us well. I say that. And if you turn the page, the second page, you can see essential skills is in the title. That will be removed. And if you look on the third page, it says we'll need to meet the essential skill graduation requirements using another assessment option. That is also going to be removed. During COVID, they suspended essential skills graduation requirements. What we find interesting is in the OSBA proposed one, it's not in there. So Kathy and I are going to hold on to these. If you added back into graduation requirements, I talked with the high school principal about this on multiple occasions. She hasn't heard anything beyond being suspended for 2 years. So they reached out to ODE. They want to share with you.
Yeah, so we didn't reach out because we were trying to get a feeling for is this coming back? What's the conversation? She said the ODE is going to present on September 1st some findings about where they want to go with essential skills. So a lot of policies involved in this. So I don't really have a great idea, but we're going to on September 1st we'll be able to get their position on that where they want to go with essential.
And historically, as the board members know, when they do alter any components for graduation requirements, they historically have announced that prior to the first day of school, those students that would be impacted in the grade. So many times they notice that this is, graduation. So this is going to be interesting. You can see in the proposed version, it's a lot thicker than the first one. And in looking at this, the IKFAR contained a lot of information that is now being stored in the proposed board policy. For instance, you can see the diploma on my chickens, notes on the AR. That's going to be an IKF. That section there at the very first has to move into the proposed board policy. The proficiency, demonstrated proficiency in essential skills, reading, writing, refining math, and a variety of settings. That has been removed completely. That's why they're really. When you take a look at page 2 of IKFAR, there is our local honors diploma. That's what we communicate extensively with our students. None of that has changed in the beginning of honors diplomas, other than when you look on page 3.5, we've been flexible with community service hours. I'm president of the local Kiwanis Club here in town. we have a T club, we have a circle K club, and at the set, we work jointly with both clubs. We can do it with our community service. That's what. So that's something that we would absolutely keep in. And then that essential skills of field. I'm going to speak this language because we, over the years, have to verify this, we've had to use this. And what that does, if a student doesn't meet the essential skills of reading, writing, we have, they would come to us with a complaint or the board to complain. What we said is, we need to follow the complaint procedures, lowest level possible, and we will refer them back to the building principal. And they will convene a meeting, and from then, we've never had one of this. So we're going to keep this in our pocket, so to speak. If they do add back essential skills, up to a modified diploma is included in the United States F. Standard diploma is in the United States F. Alternative request credits, all that is in the new IKF version. So what we're here tonight as the first reading is asking the board what you plan. We believe as an advocate, it's very important to have a local administrative regulation that clearly knows how students can earn and honor diploma. And as you know, this is more throughout the years, and we definitely want a rigorous standard set for students that speak on. But we are asking, our recommendation is that we keep the honors diploma only the IKFAR. I'll hold on to the essential skills of field if that ever comes back into play, because it serves us well on multiple occasions. But that's our proposal. But at this point, there's no reason for it. Right. So we're holding on to it because we anticipate if it does come back, we have this language that we can give consideration to the board.
What's the problem? Yeah, there's one of the topics. Are these really connected with the student skill level? Are they really representing the student? We're going to I think again, we want to bring this back to the I think we would say we'd like IKF. We would bring IKFAR with the honors diploma. On September 1st, we're supposed to find out what the league is recommending on such skills. When we bring back the AR, we'll know better than about whether or not the student comes back, whether they're heading in a new direction. But I think the other part that the teachers go in the direction. Exactly.
I think it's important to know both the high school principal and I think we've all a single situation where kids do not have all the credits and the diploma. You know, when the parents are notified by the counselor that they're not walking, that's sort of a conversation, that's for the work samples, and we work with the students. So we've been our high school has been very responsive to meeting that need. But right now, we're recommending just
and OSBA recommended we look at that policy. At least we leave in honors. And then that's just open for a question. I don't know if you heard that, Mark.
Go ahead and unmute yourself, Mark.
Sorry. It's a little bit broken up, but I kind of got the gist of it. Yeah. So I just wanted to make sure we were keeping the honors diploma language as it's written right now. You know, going forward. That's all I understand the state requirements and stuff that, you know, I get that.
that's our recommendation.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
information tonight. Information tonight, let us do, again, I think the policy as it's proposed is good. We can start, I think, I would say this should be a first reading of that, and then we'll do a second reading on the next one. The AR, we need to bring back to you kind of the draft that we believe is going to be the right, but we wanted to just check and make sure that people were thinking the same thing as we were. Thank you. Okay, so our next piece here is, again, I introduced Tim Graham. Tim comes to us from Newburgh by way of Oregon City, and then by way of St. Paul, and then by way of Newburgh. Tim taught in Newburgh, and he was an administrator at St. Paul when he moved to Oregon City to begin to work with their alternative school. And it was specifically a community service CTE school that we took from the beginnings of an idea to something that really scaled. In Newburgh, when Bill Rogers, who was the principal of the school, and we had built a brand new school for it, and Bill had kind of started up the program, and we went out looking for a principal who could jump in and really take it to the next level, and that was Tim. And so Tim Newburgh working at campus, and we were lucky enough to steal him away from Newburgh because the skill set is really well placed into some of the ideas that we're looking at. So today, I invited Tim out to kind of talk about what are some of the ideas that they're working on? How are they moving forward? What are the types of students that we're looking to provide some assistance with? So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tim.
Well, thank you, Dave. I really appreciate you guys giving me this chance to be out here and working with North Grove. The chance to work with Dave and I overlap in Newburgh, and I was always extremely impressed with the job you did there. And so when this opened up, I just couldn't see what we saw. Just no day when you talk about the community and people. I've had a chance to meet with the staff in the spring and over the summer, and I've been able to meet with quite a few administrators. And I did an informal needs assessment. I do want to do some more talking with the community and parents and staff, but we have through that we've come up with some initial goals for this year, and it was informal. And I do want to get more parents, community members involved. But we have some priorities to get started. And when we met, what we did is we decided, okay, here are the things that we need to do this summer to get school. And then what are the things are we going to get after right away or in the first part of the fall? And then what are more long-term dreams and visions that are going to be ongoing projects? And so we kind of divided in that. A lot of summers just making sure that we open safely, we transition quite a few kids from other programs into our program. Appears right now we have about 55 students returning. Then there's about, I understand, about 40 kids who have been doing online virtually. We want to continue to do that, possibly transition in person, and we'll be working with them. And we have about 63 students, 65 students who have expressed interest. So we're meeting with them Thursday evening to talk about the study program, and then we're going to go ahead and do 2 sessions. That's our introduction to the school. We're going to do 2 sessions to start rather than our normal one, just because we don't want to turn kids away and make them wait 6 weeks before they get to get into the program. I'm going to focus on a few of the things because I think they're kind of the important things getting out of the gates. But this is going to be fluid as we move forward. Oregon City, we were Oregon City Service Learning Academy, had a great staff. We did some great things, not because of me, but because of the team I had. And then we came to Catalyst, same thing, great group, great team. They make me look good, both schools. It was different. What we did in Newburgh was different than what we did in Oregon City. Because they're different communities, and they had different needs and different structures. And so I really believe you can't just take programs or ideas from one place, send it into another, we have to make it fit the community and the needs and the makeup of the community. I think the first thing we want to do is work on the perception of what alternatives of health is. For 30, 40 years, alternative ed, I think the word alternative ed really fits what we're trying to do, but it's gotten to have a very poor, what the reality of what people think when they hear alternative ed is, if somebody's in trouble, or they've done something wrong and they need to go somewhere else. The reality is, our large high schools are awesome in our country, but they don't meet everybody's needs. And it isn't just kids who are struggling, there's kids in large high school who aren't thriving, because it's just like if you ask all of us adults who work in a large corporation, some would thrive and some wouldn't. And so as adults, we get to go find different options that fits us and how we work. But we expect all kids to go to one large institution and it didn't. And all 5 of my kids have gone to Macon High School. My youngest is a senior there, and it's working. I think my daughter, who's now 29, would have done better at mechanics because she got her A's and B's, but she did it, I like to call it white knuckling it. She didn't like it there. And she's kind of her own thinker, and she didn't like being told this is lockstep how you do it, but she's someone who be age close, but she just did it. But she would have probably thrived more in a catalyst or a calc setting because there was more flexibility, smaller. Another piece of it, if you just take a large high school and make it a mini preschool, that also doesn't meet the needs. So what I did is I took 4 students that I've had to pass. The reason they're all none of them are Forest Grove students. I didn't have time to get permission from any Forest Grove students to share their story. But I'm sure there's lots of students that represent Forest Grove in the same way. The first thing I'm going to tell you about are types of students that you would think of right away when you think of alternative ed. First one, and I will warn you, I don't get choked up easy, but for some reason, when I talk about my kids, students are people. So I'll do it. It's kind of embarrassing because I don't choke up easy. Every time I do this, I can. Amber, especially Amber, she was one of my, I actually started in Oregon City as an elementary principal there, and she was one of my students and had a horrible situation. I'm not going to go into details, but she faced about every kind of abuse that you can face as a young girl. And then she went to middle school and I went to Oxford. And so she ended up coming to us as a sophomore, and she was one of the most angry girls I've met. She had a lot of good weeks and really hard. And she came to us and we were able to stabilize her. We had a lot of routines, a lot of activities. We had a lot of career stuff going on, and we were able to get her an internship in PDX with one of the airlines at the Cape Town. And she fell in love with the airline industry, and she's now a pilot. And she has her own before and after picture on her Facebook page. That's the top corner. That's Amber. She was in high school and probably about the time we first got her. And if you looked at her picture, you're probably going to get told to go at yourself. And she probably told me to do that quite a few times. Anyways, she's now a flight attendant. Obviously, she can take a little bit of criticism without getting mad and going off steam, but she will tell people that without Oxford, she would have been suicidal. She was living with a family by the time she got us, working 30, 40 hours a week. And we were able to be flexible and build relationships and help her connect, build a dream, see a vision beyond high school, that she could be something other than just survive every day. Logan was another student who's your typical, what you think of alternative ed. Was getting in trouble with the law, I think he was expelled from Oregon City High School, and we got him. And he actually was pretty tough the whole time we had him. But we were able to I like to say, drag him across the finish line. And actually, the day we got this last requirement done, me and the school counselor drove him to NEPS, I think it's called. And he got sworn in that day, and he left for the Army. He's now a helicopter mechanic in the Army, and he's going to come out with skills that are very remarkable. It's going to be some great things. It's also fun, both of these, when they send me pictures of them doing like camera flights all over the world, sending pictures of stuff from the tower. Yeah, pretty cool. And Logan's stationed in South Korea right now, and he travels on his time off, and pretty, and you know, he came from just generational. Margot was a student that I coached her dad when I was at George Washington University, and he was a student at high school. So that's how old I am. But she ended up partway through her sophomore year, she told her parents 3.8, 3.7 students, but I'm dropping out. I'm done. I'm not going back to it. I was at a basketball game, lunch in our sons, by her dad, and another school. I'm like, what are you? What? And so I met with the family, and Margot was a free thinker, and she didn't like being told lockstep. You take this year, you take this year. She didn't like the drama. She was getting some situations where she was getting bullied a little bit. And again, I don't want to make the reputation of the Portland because it is a great high school. But she wasn't fitting, and she had gotten to the point where I like to say she was not going like my daughter had done, and she was just done. She was going to drop out and then wait and go to community college and go from there. So we brought her over to Catalyst, and she went to Discovery, and then she got to meet with our Student Center Achievement teacher, and I'll talk a little more about we're moving someone in that position, and he was able to, with her and her parents, customize her education on an ongoing basis. Some grade periods, she'd have a class of PCC, she'd have theater at the high school, she might have 18 classes in high school, a couple classes for guys, a couple classes online, and it kept her, and she thrived in that situation. And the thing is, if you have 17, 18 students in the high school, you can't just turn on the dime. But we were able to, because we're small, we could think outside the box and make sure that Margot got what she needed and to continue moving forward. But no one would ever think of Margot when they think of alternative ed. She was taking AP classes, getting A's, and a parent, you know, if you looked from the outside looking in, people would have been like, well, she's doing fine. But she was so miserable that she had told her parents, you can drown me for the rest of my life. I'm not going back to school. I'm done. The next one is Miguel. Miguel was a student in Oregon City. He was in middle school, and then in another school district, and was a straight A student. Was in DAG, and I got him as a junior with 2 credits. And I'm like, so I got to know him a little bit. And I'm like, and in the left-hand picture, he's the one with the Adidas on the shirt. But he was the nicest kid you'll ever meet. He was getting referrals for skipping, and he went to school, and he was going all his classes. And I was like, you came here and you're showing up every day, you're fine, what happened? You're getting all A's, and he's like, well, they put me in the dummy classes. What are you talking about? The dummy classes. So I looked, and he was in remedial classes. He was put remedial classes as a freshman. And I think what happened is they moved into, his parents didn't speak English. He has pretty broken English himself, and they made some assumptions. You know, you have 2,400 students at Oregon State High School and 4 counselors, and they're just pushing through, and somehow. And I said, well, what did your parents think of that? And he's like, well, my parents told me to go do what the teachers tell me. You know, go to school, and if you're in that class, you're for a reason. And anyways, he got through 4 years of high school, 2 years to classes at Cognitive Community College. And Miguel, again, is not someone you would look at. That kid needs alternative because he wasn't being a behavior problem. It was just checking out, choosing not to be a part of it. Because he's like, I had Algebra 1 as an 8th grader, and all of a sudden I'm doing elementary now. And you know, and no one at the high school did that on purpose. That's Oregon State High School is a great high school. But things happen when you're so big. And I like to say, the large high schools are like a cruise ship and we're like a speedboat. We can zig and zag and turn. The sad part is I wish that people would have been, some of them would have gotten on of that sooner and gotten to us sooner than this junior year. Another student, I don't have a picture of him up here, but he was more your blue collar kid, and he was doing fine, B's and C's to get through it. He came to Oxford because he liked, we did some fighting internships, we liked blue collar stuff, but we sent him we did Friday job trials. We sent him to a machinist and he made knives. And he came back on Monday and he was like, and the reason his picture is up there is I don't have permission from him to talk about it, but he came back on Monday and he was like, hey, they get paid to make things. I'm like, yeah, and the guy was swearing all day long. That was awesome. And he goes, I thought if I did both spots, it'd have to be like you. He's like, I don't want to. He goes, no, you're a great guy. Guys, I don't want to do what you do. And he took out that it's a machinist. He still hasn't gotten a digit nine. That's kind of the lead, but he's working in the local machinist shop. And he went to Cotton Street College and got that done. And I could give you hundreds of different scenarios. There isn't one type of kid who needs to go in over bed. So our first step is to make sure that we change the perception so that kids who need it, there's not this label that if you go there, that means something's wrong with you. It means that you need something different. Just like if I'm working at Nike and it's not working, I might go work in a small business somewhere, start my own. I mean, as adults, we have options with kids. I think we just need more and more of those options. The next is kind of to try to, as a staff, think about what is the difference between school innovation and school improvement. Both are important, but school improvement is taking what we're doing and making it better. And we need to do it. But that means you're just going to serve the kids are already serving that much better, which is important. I want I have a senior in high school. I want him to serve better, but it's working for him. But I want him to serve better. That's school improvement, taking what you're doing and making it better. School innovation is saying these kids aren't fitting into the box. And for so long, we try to find ways to have the kids fit into the box. And we need to take the box to them. Change what we're doing and innovate what we're doing so that these kids who you don't want to take away what's working for a lot of kids, but you also need to make sure that we go out and meet the kids where they're at so that they can thrive. And they aren't expecting to change for us adults, but as adults changing them. And basically that's kind of repeating what I just said, but you know, how do we do what we're already doing even better? That's important. And we don't want to take away what's working, we just want to keep making it better. We also need to, how do we make it a new way of educating students who aren't going to come to the box. And believe me, a lot of kids can hold their breath on the weekend. All right. So the next area we're going to be really looking at is career exploration, project-based learning, design challenges integrated in our classroom instruction. For too long, we said every kid has to go to college. And then we started backing off a little bit and going, well, trades and apprenticeships are great. So if you can't make college, then you should consider apprenticeships for the trades. When the reality is those should be free, those should be equal things. I don't want my plumber or my electrician or my sheet metallist to be the, you know, oh, you didn't make it, now you can do this. Those are things that we should be presenting to students as equal opportunities. Another thing we figured out is students need to see it, touch it, feel it, get out there and see. They don't know what's out there. They know what their parents do. They know what they know teachers. They know service workers, police. They don't know that there's thousands of careers out there. Tons of, especially right now, there's so many opportunities with the aging of people in the trades. So what we started doing, in the city, we started doing this river pandemic kind of there, but our underclassmen and about halfway through the junior year, we were going out on Fridays and see junior apprenticeship sites. Take them out in groups of about 6 to 10 students. It's a logistical nightmare, but every Friday, they're in the university, they're in apprenticeship sites, they're manufacturing sites, they're going out and also doing some enrichment activities. Taking kids maybe to museums, other things they might not get to see. But the main gist of it is kids need to see something beyond. They may have a dream, a vision, and see that they can be more than just what it is they see around them. And there are so many things out there that kids don't know exist. So that's kind of the first step, is get them excited about something. It might not be what they become. If they see all these different careers and things that they can then use someday, it starts to really turning that, oh, okay, the connection to what I'm doing in school kind of makes more sense to me now. Because and it's great to get out there and where the sheet metal plates and they're doing math with them, and like, oh, that's why we do that math. Or when we were at the union apprenticeship site for plumbing, the guy that was showing around was like, he's like, our third year apprentice makes more than your teachers. Because our first year journeyman makes more than your principal. He goes, I make more than your principal. Combined. And our kids get to hear that. Oh, and then we went out to Intel one time with the union apprenticeship, and they were showing us, they were doing the piping out in Intel that we didn't get to go into much of it because it's so sensitive thing, but it's like, oh, you're not needing and stuff. You're up, it's the kids were like, wow, this is pretty cool. And one of my favorites is when we went to the skill workers union, we strapped the kids in, got them up on, they were up on the beams, and not everyone's going to become a skill worker because of that, but it shows them there's things out there, and they start connecting with things. And also the design challenges, we started working with Google, and they said, hey, we should do a design challenge with the schools. And so for about 2 months, they created a project that we were going to do, and then we had our students in teams, and they had to come up with this final product for Google. And it was basically just, in the end, it was just their motto or their symbol. But the kids didn't know it worked. And when they came one day, and kids couldn't have their phones, and they had a CFO, each group had a CFO, but they had to be communicating with the other groups. So they had to go out to Google had some people that acted as travel agents. They had so much money, and they, to go anywhere to one of the other rooms, you had to pay, when your salesman to go out and do that. And there was a CFO, and Joe Morlock came in, and the superintendent at the time, CFO of the group was like, these people don't understand. We're not made of money. We're going to run out of money. They're trying to spend all our money. And Joe was like, yes. But she was in a pure panic because they had blown through their budget. And then the greatest part is when I realized they had kind of matched, and then half the groups were using crayons, and the half was using other markers. And all of a sudden they had realized that, oh, we have to start negotiating because this has to match. And then the negotiation, they had to start trying, they were bargaining. Anyways, not a single kid on test, all of them. And we started integrating that into our classrooms where the math teacher was preparing math. It didn't take up the whole class, but we still had to make sure that it made sense, but it was integrated into what they were doing, and it was home design challenge day. We had an architecture group now, and ADEX started getting involved. They did some of this with us. And again, I like to take credit, but I had a teacher who took in charge of it. And again, those Fridays were a nightmare putting together with these companies, or it was just a nightmare. But once staff get excited, then they own it. They poor Bonnie, I might be leaving at 6:30, and she's on the phone trying to get these companies to let us come visit their site or come in and do these. It's a lot of work, but it does really help kids. We're also going to spend a lot of time this year strengthening our routines and procedures through common core practices, collaborative problem solving. The staff is really doing a lot of good things. They've had to, without a principal, they've had to, and Brian has done great, but Brian's like not being there, it's been hard, and so we're trying to do it. It's hard to nail down like consistency and routines, and for students, that's a ton of things, and it's so important. So we're gonna be looking at everything we're doing, and does this support kids? Does it make it better? Or do we need to tighten up, loosen up, and making sure that those routines and procedures are following trauma practices, are working with platform folks. And I should have said, if you have questions on it, please interrupt. Yeah.
Have you already started the planning process?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Dave gave us the planning time this summer, and I was the guy going to the money people and saying, hey, let's go our letter.
It's a pretty big change because they were basically teaching one class alternatively and then doing digital. And so with the added FTE, they are now all 4 cores are being taught alternatively. They've got some digital going too. We've got, well, another person, he'll come talk about it, coming out, show us some stuff. But it's a pretty big change in where the program has been and where it's going.
We're also going to be working on supporting certain students that have not succeeded in DISCO or the Core program with additional layers of support. And I'm going to say his last name right, wrong, but Tom, we're looking Tomas. I apologize. It's okay. Anyways, he's going to come on as our student-centered achievement teacher, counselor, and what that does is he will be meeting with kids who are struggling in DISCO and coming up with plans with them. He's also going to be taking students that nothing has worked for and looking at all the resources in the school district, all the resources in the community, and connecting them to them and then coaching them. Some students will be with him a lot. And some students that might just be a once-a-week check-in. He's going to be there making sure they're not falling through the cracks. About most of the schools that do discovery and then school and then beyond discovery, a large percentage of students, those layers of support are enough to get them moving forward. But you always have students that are not. And so we found that the Oxford, and I had this position in Oxford, I had a panelists, and that little bit where somebody basically, I am the parent, makes a huge difference. And then going, okay, this didn't work. What can we do? I look on here and I see that you did really well in this course for high school teachers. The rest of them didn't do so. There's some reason kids certainly will connect to certain people. Or maybe it will be part of your day, periods of high school, every day there with those teachers who've done well and come over and spend part of your day with Moss and do some of the stuff we're doing at Cal. And Cal is so close to Catalyst, I keep interchanging them, but and I could go on quite a bit about that position, but just adding those layers of support, sometimes that's all it takes. And how I came up with that idea in Oregon City is when I got there, it was about 11, we took over the alternative high school, it was about 11% graduation rate. Nicholas its own accredited high school. So part of the reason I ended up there is the state came in city after we started. And we had gotten it up to about 40% in about 3 years. But that's about the average alternate high school, say about 35%. I didn't go with that student. And so we called it learning strategies there, but I like the students that are achieving better. But that's when we fell from 40 to 60%. The reason was those kids just got that little bit extra they needed to then access those layers of what we were offering already. And really came to me when I was watching my wife with our kids. One daughter's about ready to commit hereditary because she got a 95% on the test, she get 100. And another one, the usual, was like, well, I don't have any more. Let me see. It shows you're behind in 5 classes. Well, I don't have homework tonight. Yeah, but you've got all this stuff you haven't done. And so that was the initial, but then it kind of became more. And what it looked like at Oregon City, it looked totally different in Newburgh. I had people with different personalities doing it, and the needs were different. And so Boston and I have been meeting this summer, and really it's gonna be us creating it to meet the needs of Forest Grove, not the needs of the neighborhood or the city. And that's important that we don't just say, well, this worked here, so we're just gonna plan it here. It really has to fit the community. We also, just to add, but we were able to hire a science teacher. I stole from the Catalyst science teachers. She was at Catalyst for 14 years, so we're really excited about Shane. So. And then I think this last, but it's probably one of the most important pieces is outreach to our bilingual Latinx community. And this is new to me, so I'm gonna have to do some humility, and I'm gonna have to be talking to the community. Tomas is gonna be a great asset. Jenny, our secretary, is a great asset, but it's more than just that. It's going out and connecting with the community and find out what are the needs in the community that aren't being met, or that what are we doing right, what are we doing wrong, what can we do better, and that's going to be a big job. And I'm going to have to be humble and rely on a lot of people in this area, and this is extremely important because that's a large percentage of our community, and that's. We have quite a few other things on our list, but those are our big priorities to start the year. Hopefully, I was trying to figure out why do I need. I didn't want to take up a ton of time, but hopefully, I kind of gave you a good picture of where we're starting. You guys have any questions? Or,
Well, I'm excited. Hopefully, we'll be super excited, passionate. Hopefully, done a lot of good things in your previous life and welcome to the district.
thank you.
And I appreciate the way here. I never thought about it. My school, small students, so it, what's important about it, how much students here that are allowed to down as well. So it's not a straight model. It's just a model. So I'm excited about that. And I would maybe reflect about my brothers and I, where all three ended up with this terms. It's just also good for them. I was allowed to drop out. It was also, you know, that's why I did the motion. But we didn't have this option for that. So it's just really nice to see that our students have options. Really, it's an option, and that's really something to celebrate.
I really also wanted to add, I think it's really interesting about your Friday adventures going out and showing them different career opportunities and things they can do. Because I have two seniors that, like, you know, trying to talk about college and what do I want to do, where do I want to go, and they don't have any idea what they might want to do. Because you're right, it's just this, like, what do my parents do, or what does my aunt do, or that's all they see. They don't really see there's so many other opportunities. So to show kids, they might even do less. That's great. That's a lot. Okay. Nothing I don't-
Thank you, Tim. We appreciate it. Look forward to continuing to expand.
I guess just one last comment is, if there's anything the board can do to be supportive, then just let us know. And maybe set some goals and share those goals with us. Well, where we see the program in a year and 5 years, so we get a clear idea of how we make progress, the alternative group, and what are those goals that we have to regulate.
And I'll be more than happy to go over share my story, my story. And I'm going to talk to you about perfect. I think we can pause. Moving to the dais. All right, thank you. Pause to 6:30. I'll like. Yeah.
It doesn't bounce. Hey, Mark.
Yeah.
Take care of business.
What's that?
Take care of business.
Yeah, yeah, we got it kind of taken care of, yeah.
Good. So,
I just looked at their schedule, and I was like, oh, they have a game, but it's like Glencoe. That's 6:45, I think.
We should, I don't think it'll take very long. And Dave, I'll send them.
Hi, buddy. Hey, bud. Are we ready?
Yeah, I think we're ready, Mark.
Okay, I got, couldn't get my video going there, so. Okay, let me, to the script for this here. All right, the August 22nd, 2022 Forest Grove High School District Board of Directors meeting is called to order at 5:31 PM. We'll call of board members present. Narce Rodriguez.
Here, she's here at 6:30. 6:31.
I'm sorry, I'm reading, okay, 6:30, yes. 5:30, yeah, 6:30. Val Ingram,
I'm here at 6:30 also.
Brad Vaquero,
I'm here and I'm not gonna say that to you, Mark.
and Kate Grandusky is absent this evening, and I'm present as well. So the board appreciates community members sharing information during public comments. Public comments will be made in person or submitted through the designated form on the webpage to be read by district staff or registered Zoom participants who indicated through the form they wanted to provide their comment live. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes, as is the protocol for board meetings. Public criticism or complaints about school district personnel are not allowed at this time. When it is your turn to share your live comment, your name will be called and district staff will connect you to the meeting. Please state your name and relationship to the district before you read your comment. All right, we'll have the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, introductions of audience and staff. Let's see here. I can't, we may have to just go around the room there. I'm unable to see who's present there in the audience, so.
We'll have them start.
Okay,
Technology Fund. David Warner, Communications. Karen Arian, Human Resources.
Eileen Luke, business,
John O'Neill, Assistant Superintendent.
Kim Shear, Director of Services.
Claire Thomas, Athletic Director.
That's it, Mark.
okay, great, thank you. Approval of tonight's agenda. Is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
Second.
All right, moved and seconded. Discussion about that? Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. I'm a yes. Brad?
Yeah.
Narce? And Val? Great, thank you. I don't believe we have a student rep report yet. Okay, so we've got correspondence and celebrations, calendar notes, recognition, and the superintendent report.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you. Wanted to point out some calendar, things are coming back to normal and we've got some calendar pieces. This week, on Thursday and Friday, we'll be welcoming back our new staff and taking them through some initial onboarding. We have 35 classified staff and 55 new teachers.
Wow.
That along, we hired over 200 people last year. Puts us at somewhere around 290 new hires over 2 years. And we have about 700 plus staff, which means that we're right at about 35% of our staff is now first or second year, which as we begin to think about things, we just have to remember a lot of our folks have not been here very long. Like, how do we begin to refresh what our culture is and what our we were talking about different trainings that we folks have been through in the past, and you have to think about all that because of not everybody has been here. So just wanted to kind of point out that that's happening. You'll also see next week on Monday, teachers report. Tuesday in the morning, we're going to do our all staff welcome back. And again, want to invite all of you to the Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. I have about an hour that I'll be kind of talking through some vision mission, but also just some other pieces that we were finishing up last year. Should be a good time. Wow. We'll have some kind of take and go food and coffee in the morning. Feel free to come out about 7:30 and talk with folks, and we'll just be kind of getting ready to go. Science classrooms, it looks like, knock on wood, the science classrooms are going to be open for school. We still may be missing some furniture, but we'll get going, and there may be some things that are happening, but so far so good. I think that's knock on wood. We'll just,
How did the tech stuff come out?
I'm still working on that, to be honest. There's some,
They're delivering the final pieces on Friday,
Oh,
so we'll know more then.
okay.
I'll have Enrique give me kind of a report, and I'll push it into the Friday memo, just so you kind of know where we're at with those pieces. I wanted to point out that we've got back to school nights coming, the 1st and the 6th. So just kind of keeping those on your calendars there. In corn roast is September 17th. Will be our first corn roast in a couple of years, so I'm excited to kind of get back to that. Just a reminder, our K-6 staff, they'll all be implementing our new textbook adoption. That's amplified, and it's based on explicit phonics, and it's based on the science of reading. But it's going to be a pretty big lift for everyone to learn and change. So just wanted to begin kind of point out that we're really excited it's here, but it's going to be a lot of work for the next year. Specifically, the next 6 months will be pretty heavily invested in that. Jumpstart Kindergarten started today. We had 222 students show up. There's about 400 and some odd total kindergarten students. So we had almost half of the students show up for kind of a jumpstart. So principals, and I've already heard some stories about kids, and so I think it was a pretty successful day. What's that? I think, well, everybody cries on kindergarten.
Like
day,
the
right?
baker,
It's
the
the
parents.
parents, the kids.
We had instances of both.
And then I'll be headed off to our council meeting here as soon as we finish to present to them kind of some of the generalities about the bond and look for their support. I know you've already put your support behind this bond, so just wanted to let you know I was off and doing that. And with that, I'm going to turn it back to Mark.
Okay, thanks, Dave. Unscheduled public appearance is next on the agenda. Kathy, is there any unscheduled public appearance this evening?
No.
No, okay. Thanks. We'll move on. The consent agenda is made up of routine non-controversial items to be voted on under one motion. Are there any items within the consent items a board member or the superintendent wishes to discuss separately? Okay, if not, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Brad moved, Mel seconded.
Okay, thank you. So roll call vote. I'm a yes. Brad? Brad? Okay, Val? And Narce?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We move on to two action items this evening. The first one is policy updates. This is a second reading of a number of policies that were presented last meeting. I don't know, Mr. Parker, if you have any comments before we move on this.
No, I just would just echo a couple things. I didn't get any questions. I'm ready to answer those now if you have them. We'll move forward on getting the graduation IKF in front of you, and then we'll redo the IKF-AR so that it includes the honors diploma, and then we'll check to see if there's any other little pieces we need to add in that AR, depending upon what the state does. So that's kind of the plan for policies. And with that said, I can answer any questions you might have about these.
I have no questions.
No questions then, am I hearing? Correct?
Correct.
Okay. So I'll move, I move to approve the policy updates as presented.
I'll second.
All right. Any discussion? All right, we'll do a roll call vote. Narcy,
Yes.
Valerie,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well. So that motion passes. Thank you. Okay, the next action item is Forest Grove High School North Field drainage repairs. And this is Eileen is presenting this evening.
With the mic, this-
The mic right there.
Well, you don't need the mic if you speak clear. If you speak clear, you're fine.
Okay, right here's fine.
Just don't speak like that.
Can you hear Mark?
I can.
All right. So tonight we have for you the purchase of repairing the north field at the high school. And we haven't completed significant maintenance on them, and now it's time. The drainage is collapsing and starting to fail, and the fields need dirt and grading. It's a playing hazard, and with the drainage issues, it caused many games last year to either be moved or canceled. Right now, we have 3 quotes from 3 different vendors. One did pull their bid back, and we're looking at awarding it to Civic Sports Turf for $84,335 is the lowest bid. So that is what we're recommending.
We asked some questions about the details. Would you know the details or?
Doug's here, so he can help.
Are they gonna pull the plugs at the base of the level of the field?
Yeah, they have to.
Okay. Are we doing anything about behind home plate? Are they-
Yeah, that's the major, that's where one of the drainage fault orders defined there. You have that in the JD.
I was gonna say, then JD behind second base or
Those
whatever.
are the 2 things that the major faults. And I'm not sure what the final outcome was, but part of it could have been putting that valve facility in where we damaged some of it out there, made it back up, but I think we also just had some, and it's a normal part of
Just that.
a dirt field.
Any chances of making one on the turf field?
I don't think tonight it is, but
Just wanna put that out.
I always like to listen to that.
Not with this budget.
I know, I was wondering how.
It's like 406. One is to do one infield. for
Yeah,
one.
you want.
Yeah.
I think those are my questions.
Any other questions?
No.
Is there a motion to approve?
Yeah, give me 1 second and I'll find the reading. Get it out.
I move that we approve the Civic Sports Turf to complete the drainage repair and the grading repair of the north field for $84,335.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? All right, we'll do a roll call vote again. I'm a yes. Brad?
Yes.
Valerie?
Yes.
And Narcy?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And that motion passes, so thanks very much. Last item on the agenda this evening is future action items. I don't know if any board members have any items to discuss or.
That's something I wanted to talk about discussing. I was wondering if we could find a time to talk about the SRO, maybe putting together some information. Like to allow parents and families for safe gun storage and gun safety, like different education things. I don't know if I can speak about that, but I think that's something that we should add with the SRO. Because part of the piece in our MO was education or whatever, so.
Yeah, I will do that. I know I have had a conversation with Henry. We're going to start into the process to do the hiring. They are having some staffing issues. So we're still trying to figure out how that's going to play out for us, but we are moving forward on the process. And I don't have any problem at all. I mean, the education part of this, we get to kind of play out how we do that. So,
That's a good idea.
I think in the next week and a half is when I'll sit down with the city and kind of lay out the process. So you can bring that up.
Yes. But I also, let me kind of get a feeling for what he's saying, and then I can bring back, I mean, that's what we want to bring back in education. Piece here. We'll leave it on the future items and see kind of how we can service that.
Great.
Did we get the September 13th, board?
Yes.
We're
Good at 4.
great.
Did you hear that, Mark?
No, I didn't hear that.
We're gonna do the board retreat on Tuesday, September 13th at 4 p.m.
December 13th at 4 p.m. Okay, great. Thank you.
Good job. Well, that was great.
Yes.
And is it going to be at the district office then or?
Yes.
Okay,
Is that easiest for folks?
yeah, that's fine. Okay,
I can make that
During that time.
I was thinking the same thing, I could see that. It makes everything better.
okay. I think if there's no other comments, that'll conclude the meeting for this evening. So I'll adjourn the meeting. It's 6:47 p.m. So I'll adjourn the meeting and wish everybody a good evening.
Thanks, Mark. Mark. Yeah.